Good morning, I'm Caralee Gurney.
And I'm Stacy Revely.
Welcome to North Texas Networkers, and it's sponsored by Willowbend Mortgage and Craig Schrank. And today I'm really excited about our guest because we are going to be talking with Jeff Crilley, who is an award-winning journalist and owner of Real News PR. Welcome, Jeff.
Hello. I'm thrilled to be on your show, and I love your show. The open, the logos, I mean, you guys have done such a great job with this show.
Well, I don't know if everybody knows this, but you actually are, your company produces our podcast.
Well, and I couldn't be more thrilled because you guys are exactly the kind of show that we want to produce from our network. You're educating, you're entertaining. One of my favorite moments was when you you had the author of Good Christian.
Yes, it's a hard word to say on TV or podcast.
Kim
Gatlin, and you got embarrassed as you said the word. But anyway, no, your show is so awesome, and I'm just thrilled that you're doing it.
We're excited to be here. So how many shows are coming out of your studios?
We're now doing 75 unique shows a month. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Yeah,
it's
and
amazing.
it grew from about a year and a half ago, 5 shows a month, to now 75 shows. So what's happening is that the guests of the hosts are saying, so how does this work? And the next thing you know, the guest is becoming a host. So
well, I hear you have a little secret sauce to that.
Well, so the premise of this whole division is podcasting's cool, but for the most part, a lot of people are doing it wrong. They've got a mic that's plugged into a computer, and they're doing it at home, and you're hearing hollow noises, and it just doesn't sound professional.
The dog's barking,
yes,
and the doorbell's ringing. And
exactly. And we have all these wonderful former TV and radio people. I said, why don't we just bring television production values to podcasting? So the people can come in off the street, we match them up with a producer and create a show open, give them some coaching on how to ask great questions and have a good show, and voila, you have a show that really rivals, I think, commercial television.
That's so exciting.
That is very cool.
So I want to know how you got here, because originally you were a Channel 4 investigative reporter.
Yes.
Tell us how you got here.
Thank you. So I wrote this book. This is not a shameless plug. If you email me, I'll give you a free copy. It's called Free Publicity. A TV reporter shares the secrets for getting covered on the news. And while I was still at Channel 4, I was moonlighting. I was running around giving something like 300 speeches a year for 6 straight years. Breakfast speech, lunch speech, go to work at Fox 4. Breakfast speech, lunch speech, go to work at Fox 4. And a business was born because I sold 70,000 copies of the book, and it's a how-to book. It's here's how you get yourself in the Dallas Morning News or Channel 8. And a lot of people don't have time to do it. So I kept hearing the same thing. They would say, man, I could buy your little $10 book, but I don't have time to do any of this stuff. If you ever start a PR firm, I want to be your very first client. And I heard this so much. I got to be 45 in 2008. I turned 45, and I think that's the moment in your life when you're like, okay, well, is this all there is? I'd climbed to the top of the little hill I was climbing called local TV news. They weren't going to make me Clarice Tinsley. I was never going to go any farther than I was going. And I kept hearing stories. I remember there was a great reporter from Channel 8 that I heard had retired and went to Colorado to be with his grandkids, and the next thing you know, he was serving coffee at Starbucks for the health benefits. And I thought to myself, wow, this was a great reporter, and I don't want to be the guy who's 65, 70 working at a Starbucks because he didn't plan for his future as well as he could. And so I thought to myself, I'm not getting any younger. If I'm ever going to make this jump into the world of entrepreneurship, I better do it now. So I asked my wife's permission to quit in 2008. It's always smart to ask your wife.
Yes.
And I quit, and this company started in my home in 2008. And now, I wake up and I have close to 24 employees, and they all came from news, and we're producing television shows and getting people on the news, and yeah, I couldn't be more happy.
That's very exciting.
Well, so before we go on to more about PR and podcasting, I want to know a few of your little fun stories. So I hear that You had a most embarrassing moment.
I did. We're not going to show it, are we?
Well, no, I plan on showing it.
I did have a moment, and I'll clean it up for this show. I was reporting in Minneapolis, and inside a house, the cops found a large adult novelty item. And they decided to bring it out on live TV. And it just was, it became, a part of blooper tapes all over the world. But when YouTube came along, somebody from Minneapolis uploaded it to YouTube, and it has been watched just literally millions and millions of times. And in fact, 2 years ago, somebody sent it to Taylor Swift, and she retweeted it. And how many followers does she have? Something like 90 million, right? And so she says, "LOL, look what just happened." Well, this was in 1990. I don't think she was born yet. but I will take her views because her fans just loved it, and so it's been.
So it lives on in infamy.
Yeah,
then.
if you're very curious, just go to YouTube and put in Jeff Crilley blooper, and you will see it for yourself.
That's very
Very
fun.
nice.
What was one of the most proud things that you had? Was it like the most accomplishing?
I helped free an innocent man from prison, which was really cool.
Wow,
Yeah,
I hadn't heard this story.
Yeah, it's a longer story, and this is only a half-hour show, so we can't. I'll streamline it. As you're going through the industry, you're starting to check things off your bucket list, and one of the things that I wanted to do was free an innocent man from prison. I'd watched 60 Minutes do it, and so I called the Innocence Project, and they referred me to a professor in Houston, a law college professor, and I called him up and I said, "My name is Jeff Crilley from Fox 4, and I am looking to free a truly innocent man." And he says, "Well, we do have this one case in the Fort Worth area where it was a case of two brothers. We'll call them the good brother and the bad brother. So the good brother is in jail right now for a crime that his brother committed."
Wow.
And we know his brother committed it because he's already signed an affidavit saying, "I'm the guy who really did this crime." So we went out, we got a confession from the bad brother who was free. We got lie detector tests from both of them. We sent it to the Board of Pardons and Paroles. I even had a moment where I'm kind of staring down Rick Perry to get him to act on his Board of Pardons and Paroles request that this innocent man be set free. And finally on Christmas Eve, I think it was around 2002, he walked out a free man. And it was kind of a cool moment because the whole media had gathered to watch him walk out on Christmas Eve. It was a nice holiday story. And he announces in front of all of the press, he says that his girlfriend had stayed by him this whole time as his fiance, and he says, "I want to invite everybody to my wedding, and Jeff Crilley, if you'll do me the honor, I'd like you to be my best man."
Oh,
So
my
yeah, I
gosh,
was the
that's
best. I was
incredible.
the best man at his wedding, and
Did his brother end up in prison?
yes. So his brother went to prison, and he walked out a free man.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
That is an amazing story.
I know. I actually hadn't heard that one. So I actually work out with Jeff.
We do.
I'd like
And
to say
she's-
it's every day, but it's
She
not
is
really.
fierce, by the way. Right? She's wearing a jacket, but when not, she would say the restroom is that way. She's got cuts. She's fierce.
Yeah. You keep telling people that.
It's true.
Well, so tell us a little bit about your studio.
Sure.
Why you want a podcast? What does it do for people, and what can you offer people here?
Well, I am convinced that podcasting is the future. So, like one of our shows is getting something like 22,000 views on YouTube and many more than that on Facebook. Well, we get to see the ratings for the local TV channels, and there are mornings when Good Morning Texas on WFAA only gets 19,000 viewers. And so shows that we're producing out of our own studios are now beating commercial television in terms of the number of eyeballs. And what that is telling me as an entrepreneur is that this is the future. What I try to explain to people, so there's kind of a digital divide. Anybody over 30 says, what channel is it on? Where can I watch your podcast? And anybody under 30 doesn't, because they're not.
No.
They're not glued to channel 4 or channel 5, right? So what I tell people is this is like Blockbuster and Netflix. So you remember when Blockbuster was the behemoth, but they were also kind of arrogant. They said this business model will always work. People will always want to drive through the rain to a video store and look for videos and then take them home and then get charged late fees. I mean, now we look back
If
at
you
it in
didn't
hindsight.
rewind them, you got in trouble for that too.
Right, you did. Be kind, please rewind. Yes, and now 20 years later, we kind of look at this and say, man, they were so short-sighted. It's almost like the horse and buggy people denying that the car will ever turn into anything. Well, in the early 2000s, I guess it was, Netflix comes along, and it was a little gnat that was kind of buzzing in Blockbuster's ear. And at that time, Netflix had a new model. The model was, hey, if you have a date night on a Friday night, we'll send you the movie in the mail, and you'll get it in a couple of days, and you just put it back in the mail, right? That was a different business model. And at a time when Blockbuster could have just bought Netflix and absorbed the technology or closed them down or whatever, they were arrogant. And now I think there's only one Blockbuster left in the whole universe. It's in Oregon. So I see the traditional media and social media the same way. The traditional media is Blockbuster. Yes, there's still the New York Times. Yes, there's still ABC and 60 Minutes, and I hope they live long and prosper, right? But along comes social media and YouTube, and if you do this right now, if you're at home, go to YouTube after watching our show, go to YouTube and just put in teenager makeup tips into YouTube. And you will see teenagers with millions and millions of views, and all they're doing is talking to their webcam at home. Millions of views. Well, the most watched TV newscast in the country is 60 Minutes, and they only get 12 million views. So the day has changed when a teenager can beat 60 Minutes. And what that's telling me as an entrepreneur is you need to pay attention to Netflix, because Netflix is coming along, and it is a freight train. And everybody under 30 is not tied to traditional media. They won't be asking the question, what channel is your podcast on? They'll be like, where can I subscribe to your podcast? And you'll be like, it's on iTunes, iHeart, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all the platforms that you can consume social media.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing. Very, very cool.
Well, so, okay, tell us a little bit about PR. So, and how can you couple that with what you're doing on a podcast?
Perfect. So what I tell people to do is pay attention to the media. If you want to get on Channel 8 or Channel 4, pay attention to what they're talking about that day. And there's a chapter in the book called Becoming the Expert. And this is a chapter that we use most often at the PR firm. We're looking at what is in the news, and we're saying, do we have somebody we can give to them? So there's been several times when I know I've seen you on the local TV channels, Caralee, and you've done a great job as an expert in real estate. I think most recently, what channel was it?
Channel 5.
Channel 5 came out. And I think that's wonderful. It's great credibility for you and your company and everything you're doing. Implied in that broadcast is Caralee and her team are honest, they're reputable. We searched high and low for the foremost leading expert in Dallas-Fort Worth to bring you this information, and here she is. So it's hard to put a price tag on the value of publicity. You can use that clip forever and ever and ever. In fact, what I'm telling my clients to do now is have a little link in your outbound signature that says, in the news. And that when they click on it, it drags them to the media page on your website. And then passively, how many emails are you guys sending out every single day? 50, 100? Passively, you're marketing for yourself, because even if 1 out of 50 says, oh, they were on the news, click. Once they see you on the news, they can't unsee it. They'll never look at you the same way again. So that's the chapter that I encourage people to use most often is just pay attention to the news, and when your story comes along, you got to jump. We have people at our PR firm that I joke they watch TV for a living. All they're really doing is they're watching, Trump just tweeted this about immigration. Gosh, we've got an immigration attorney. Hey, immigration attorney, do you want to be on the news? Do you see what Trump just tweeted? Okay, stand by. Hey, Channel 8, did you see what Trump just tweeted about immigration? Do you need an immigration attorney?
You're
We've got one. I'm a matchmaker.
There you go.
But, and this is not a shameless plug, we're not trying to sell my PR services. You can do it yourself. All you have to do is pay attention to the news, and when your story comes along, have the courage to pick up the phone and call the media. In fact, I love classic rock. I love the Beatles. I have, Sirius satellite on my stereo, and I would love to listen to the Beatles channel, but I don't. I listen to local news on the radio. Why? Because I need to know what's going on so I can slide my clients into the news while the news still cares about them.
Well, and I was in one of the talks that you gave probably 15 years ago.
Yeah.
You came to the Junior League office and
Thank you.
gave a prepresentation, and I have your book at home,
Thank
and it's still tried and true. I don't think those things change, even though maybe the social media may have,
Yes.
advanced. I don't know that anything else other than that is very different.
Thank
so
you.
What else do you see that has dramatically changed, though? I mean, you still kind of can have the same models, and you've got social media, but are there other things that have come up?
I think social media. So the book was written in 2002 and doesn't even mention social media because back then it was like MySpace, right? I don't even think Facebook came along until 2004 or 2005. So there's no mention of social media as an outlet. But if you start to pay attention to social media, who has the largest followings, you could actually get on people's social media channels. So that's why influencers have become so big. These days, Kim Kardashian, when she's sipping a beverage that she got paid for, she has a larger, reach than many magazines or newspapers do. So pay attention to who has a large following in social media. Pay attention to which podcasters have a large audience, because you could pitch a podcaster on coming on their show, and that's another piece of marketing for you.
That's fantastic. I thought you were going to say that Kim Kardashian had a large rear.
She said that. This is Kim. If you're watching this, that was Caralee. Her website again.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist that one.
That's funny.
So, what is your biggest piece of advice? If you had one thing to tell, if there was just one thing that you would do, and I know it takes more than the one thing because there's so many things you've got to couple together, and we've learned that in our business that we've got to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But what's the most important thing?
I think the most important thing is there's a great book called Power of Habit, and it was written by a New York Times bestselling author, and he talks about little habits and commitments that you make that change your whole life. And so if you decide to bike to work instead of drive to work, and you're committed to it, you're going to lose weight, you're going to get healthy, right? If you make good choices, you get healthy. If you make bad choices, you become unhealthy. So I made a promise to myself 11 years ago. I started to put out a daily email that now goes out to 27,000 journalists. And I have not missed a single day in 11 years. Not Christmas Day, not New Year's Day.
Ask him what time he gets up.
What time do you get up?
Between 3 and 4.
Oh, wow.
And last night I was to bed by 7:30. I fell asleep on the couch, and my wife says,
Well, when he gets to
time
work
for you
out in the morning, you've already done all of this.
I've already done all of this, and it's important that power of habit, that commitment that I made more than a decade ago, really helps this company run, because I know that I can put a client's name in my daily media tip sheet, and their phone will start to ring. And so I enjoy that. People say, couldn't you have one of your employees do it? And I was like, no, that's my crossword puzzle. That's, if you love crossword puzzles, it's not a chore. I'm constantly, every single day, keeping my brain very alert, seeing what the media is talking about, seeing how I can put together this unique daily email that takes 3+ hours every single day. So by the time I hit the door at the PR firm at 9 in the morning, I've already had kind of a full day's work.
Wow.
So my advice to the people watching at home who are thinking about, either their career or becoming an entrepreneur is, what promise can you make to yourself? It could be a sales promise. I'm going to call 5 people a day and introduce myself to them, or I'm going to link on LinkedIn to 5 new people that I haven't met. I'm going to have 5 coffees a week with new people that I'd like to do business with. Make a commitment and stick with it.
That is great advice, for sure. Well, what does Jeff Crilley do in his downtime? Sounds like you wake up, hit the ground running.
I do.
What do you enjoy?
I love to hang out with my wife. We're binge watching TV every night. Thank goodness for binge watching, right? Do you remember
when do you have time for binge watching? I mean, that's the bad part.
Yeah. Well, no. So my wife gets home. She has a great job. Victoria Snee, shout out. She has a great job. She works at Highland Park Village. She's the director of marketing there. So she gets to market all those luxury brands, and so she'll get home about 7, and
you're in bed by 7:30.
Well,
I've been listening.
Binge watch for 30 minutes.
Right. On a good night, I can push it to 9. But we'll have dinner together, and we'll watch our favorite show, and then we'll drift off to sleep and do it all over again the next day. But she's, happy wife, happy life. That is absolutely the case. I know you guys both have great marriages, and part of that is both spouses are doing something that they love to do. Yes.
That's fantastic.
So, didn't you meet her when you were at Channel 4? How did that happen?
I did. So she worked behind the scenes at Channel 4. She was a writer, and we met, and I knew that she wouldn't want to be a writer her whole life. She's just beautiful. And so I joked that my pickup line was, "Do you want to go out on a story sometime?" And so I took her under my wing because I'm a giver and took an interest in her career, and she prospered. She ended up on the air in Wichita Falls, and then in Dallas at Channel 33, and on the radio on the Clear Channel for many years, and had a great career in news and radio, and then decided to leave the business about the same time that I did. So she went off to work as director of marketing for North Park, and then she was director of marketing for Legacy West, and now she may have found her forever home at Highland Park Village. I think it is the best luxury marketing job in the country, and she got to support me on the journey into entrepreneurship. And as you guys know, you guys are entrepreneurs. You eat what you kill. You're not guaranteed a paycheck every week or every 2 weeks, and you have to wake up every morning and start it all over again. And so I think that we complement each other. We have the same interests. When we were in news, we had the same interests, and now that we're in marketing, we have the same interests. And I think that's the secret to a long and healthy marriage.
Very good.
So what's next?
What's next?
This can't be it.
World domination.
World domination. One million offices.
Right? I do in my dream world, because I'm discovering later in life that I'm a builder. I love the process of building and having great employees, and there's something cool about a company that's starting to work all on its own. We've built a nice machine here, and that's not me. That's great employees that will run through a wall for you. And when you have a great team that is always going above and beyond the call of duty and delighting the customers, and you onboard great clients, the company just continues to grow. And so I always say that I am the person who invites people into the Garden of Eden, both on the client side and on the employee side. And I can only screw this up. The only way to screw it up is to invite in a toxic employee that burns out the vibe, or a toxic client. So I'm the one who, if a client is acting up, I get to kind of politely suggest that they
have a new opportunity.
Have a new opportunity, which I know you've done before yourself, Caralee. You told me, and make sure that the garden is tended at all times. And I have to say, this is probably the best the company has ever run before. About 5 years ago, if I got hit by a bus, I think the company would fold, because it was all Jeff Crilley all the time. but I can honestly say if I got hit by a bus, a company would have a kumbaya meeting, and they would say, let's do this for Jeff, and they would go onward and upward without me. And I love that you've built a machine that can live on without you. And that's really happening on the podcast side, the broadcast side that you guys are on, because shows are happening that I'm not signing off on. They're just happening, and so most days I'm giving the tour. And I remember I was giving a tour a couple of months ago, and I walked down the stairs to go into one of the rooms, and there on the screen was the menopause show, and I was like, when did we? I mean, it's important, but I had nothing to do with that show. As I'm giving the tour, I'm smiling to the guests, and I say, I have no idea what that show is about.
That is hysterical.
Yes.
What's the most edgy show you have?
We do have one show that you cannot see on our network because it's called A Girl's Gotta Eat ... Lobster. And it's a dating show, and it's where a bunch of girlfriends get together and talk about men that they've dated. And it gets a little raunchy. It gets a little Howard Stern. And so we made a deal with the client that, yes, we'll help produce the show, but it will not air on any of our channels, and there's no video. So you and it says something that the ladies on the show don't want to be identified on camera. Because I think they too have lives and clients that they're trying to please, and so it's one of the shows that just is fun. There's some raunchy talk on there, but my fingerprints aren't on that show.
I love it.
That's hilarious.
That is wonderful. Well, that is very exciting, and you've just really built a great business here.
Thank
I
you.
know that we appreciate what you have done.
Thank you.
And it's, I think, made a big impact in our businesses and in our lives. I mean,
Well,
we've gotten to meet some really great people. And who's somebody that you've met that just was a wow moment?
Ooh, is this coming up?
Yes. So this afternoon, I get to meet Ted Nugent and his wife. How cool is that? Yeah, we got randomly how life works is we got Ted Nugent's wife 10 different radio interviews in a single morning. This was yesterday, and Ted says, honey, what are you doing? She says, 10 radio interviews. And he says, well, who arranged this? So he found out about our firm, and he and his wife are driving up from Waco right now to visit our team, and we're all excited. And he's going to.
So we're going to be here at what time?
Yeah, you need to accidentally forget like a breath mint or something, and have to come back and get it. And yeah, he comes by this afternoon at 2. And the cool thing is that it's their anniversary. They're celebrating 31 years of marriage today, and so we've ordered a cake for them that has their picture on the top, and we're going to surprise them on the air with the cake, and then later I get to take them out to dinner. So that's really kind of cool.
That's so fun.
That is fun. What a fun job.
We have a few more minutes left, and I want to do 2 things. One, I want to ask you one more question, and then 2, I want to make sure people know how to find you, how to reach out if they're interested in using your services. I know you said that's not what you were here for today, but I'd like to give a shout out for that as well. So the last question I have for you is, what has been the most interesting interview you've ever given?
When I'm being interviewed, or when...
Ooh, you can choose.
This one's pretty fun.
Okay.
No, honestly, and let me just compliment you because you guys have made this interview effortless. A great interview is supposed to sound like just 3 friends talking, which is exactly what we're doing. There's no notes. You're not, thinking of, you're paying attention to the interview. You're not thinking about the next question you're going to ask. So this is a great interview for those of you who are thinking about starting a show. Watch this show because this is exactly what great shows are supposed to look like.
That's a great compliment.
The most, let's see, let me change it around and talk about, I get to interview Dick Cheney in a week, which is kind of cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
He's going to be speaking in Fort Worth, and one of our former clients is hosting the event, and so I get to interview Dick Cheney, and I'm excited about that. And let's see, who have I interviewed that, obviously Troy Aikman and all of the Cowboys from the 90s I've interviewed. Who gets me starstruck? On my bucket list to do before I die, I'd love to interview Paul McCartney. I'm a big Beatles fan, and I'd love to interview Paul McCartney. I just think, he and John were such prolific songwriters, just geniuses, that so many hit songs could come out of one group. So that's on my bucket list of people that I'd love to interview before I pass.
All right, Paul, you heard it here. He wants to talk to you, so here's how to get in touch with him.
That's right. So you did ask, and thank you for that, how to get in touch with us. The best way is our website. It's www.realnewspr.com, realnewspr.com. And people say, where'd you come up with the name Real News? Because fake news. And so I named this 11 years ago, long before fake news became a thing. But now people think I'm a genius for coming up with Real News PR. But the reason I called it Real News PR was honestly a message to the journalists that if we're pitching you a story, it's because it's real news. And we've really tried to live by that promise that we're never going to burn our relationships with the working press by pitching them something that's not newsworthy. So it's served us well over the years, and I think we're the country's first all-journalist PR firm, and I think I will never break from that model, because it's been a wonderful business model that has served us well.
That's awesome.
Gosh, we've had a blast having you here.
Oh,
thank you so much.
You guys are so wonderful.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jeff Crilley, owner, president, Real News PR, and I'm Caralee.
I'm Stacy, and
we are your. Well, I was going to say before that, join us next month, because we're going to have Maria Guerrero from Channel 5, and she's going to talk about being a single woman in journalism and a Hispanic in journalism. So it should be a fantastic interview. I can't wait to have her on the show as well. So once again, I'm Caralee.
I'm Stacy,
and we are your real estate professionals.
Thank you for joining us on North Texas Networkers.
Visit our website, mariposagroupdfw.com. That's MARIPOSA Group DFW.com for more information about the show and other resources. I'm Caralee.
And I'm Stacy.
And we are your real estate professionals.